Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
I feel like this is one of those things that can make or break a friendship as well, so we might be learning a lot more about each other here than we have ever known over the past 7 years.
Well, apparently your perception of me already changed, not knowing that I didn't see Thor 1 or Captain America 1.
I mean, that's movies, right? We can have a movie bracket in the future, depending on how this goes, but...
That's such a broad concept, though. Like, we might have to do separate tournaments for different genres, like...
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course, we could do action, we could do comedy, we could do, what other movies are there?
We could even just fucking do superhero movies as its own bracket.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. I think I might have to put that on the spreadsheet of ideas. Not a spreadsheet. I'm not a complete nerd. It's the notepad on my phone. I will put down superhero movies. La-dee-doo, la-dee-da. There we go. Right beneath Room 101 and right above YouTube channels that we love. Oh, imagine a bracket for YouTubers. Oh,
that would be
so
a little
fun.
wild.
Yeah. I feel like we're a bit late on the whole March Madness thing anyway, as it is, so who says it has to be in March? We can just do it whenever we want.
April absurdity.
Oh, I love that. That's what it is. Instead of March Madness, this is April absurdity. And then, if we ever decide to do a bracket in any other month, we can just come up with it then and there. But for now, this is welcome everybody to April Absurdity.
Can't think of a better way to start the episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Bitter Chatter. I am, of course, still Carmen Antonelli, and with me is Sam Brooks.
I am indeed still that man.
Yes, and as we said last episode, we are going to do our big TV tournament this episode. This will probably have to cover multiple episodes because this is a huge tournament. There will be 64 TV shows put into a bracket, taking up 4 rounds of tournament action. And it's really just going to be us listing 2 shows at a time and then coming to an agreement or disagreement on which one is better and moving on to the next round until we eventually decide, out of these 64 shows, what's the best TV show of all time.
And you got to think of it, 64, that's a massive number, all right? But there are some omissions because, I was telling my friend here in the preamble, we've seen a lot of TV shows, but then there's also a lot of shows that we have not seen. So there's going to be, if you think, hey, why isn't fucking Nip Tuck? Or Breaking Bad? Or Ozark? I don't know.
That's a show people watch.
Why isn't my favorite show in here? Well, it's because we haven't watched it, and I'm very sorry. But if there is a glaring omission that maybe you'd like to recommend to us, then by all means.
And so, with all that, I think it is about time we get started, because this is going to take a while.
All right. We're coming in with a really weird first round, all right? This is, the shows that we have in here, they're a wide berth. We have live action, we have variety shows, we have anime, cartoons, like a bit of everything almost. It's quite daunting when you put some of these next to each other. You really look at how different they are and the merits and the demerits of both.
I don't know if this is going to end up an actual matchup on the bracket, but as I was watching him copy paste this huge list of TV shows into this tournament bracket generator, 2 shows that I saw right next to each other that exemplify exactly what he's trying to get across right now is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy right next to WandaVision. So that's probably going to be similar to what we get in this first round.
I can't believe I'm about to say that the first matchup of this tournament is The Simpsons against Kill La Kill. Merge the fibers. The life fibers merge.
We have a 2-star uniform merge.
You gotta embrace nudity, Homer. Who else would be in Kill La Kill? Oh, it's Lenny.
They gave me a 1-star suit.
Oh. No, all right, okay. We can't just have the whole tournament be us doing impressions of characters that are in the shows. We can't have that. I mean, this is a foregone conclusion already. Like, as much as I love Kill La Kill, like, it's one of my favorite animes, The Simpsons is probably one of the most defining TV shows I've ever seen.
It's gonna take something monumental to beat The Simpsons in any of these rounds, really, because it's such an important show. And even though at this point more of it is bad than there is good, there's still so much good.
I was just about to say that we all know the collective joys of seasons 1 through 9 and then maybe up to 12.
Yeah.
We're currently on season 33.
Right, like more than half of it is not good.
Almost like 2/3 of it is just not even worth looking at, so you do have to factor that in as to whether, this show that's been going on for 30 years and has sucked for about 20 of them, versus a single hit, like, season of anime that was consistent, I think, throughout.
Right, like, I was just going to say, there's really an argument to be made here about percentage versus volume, because while Kill La Kill is obviously way low in the volume department, it doesn't even matter how many episodes it is. It's like you said, it's a single season.
I feel like we should at least set up what these shows are, because I know a lot of my friends are probably going to think, what the hell is Kill La Kill? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
what you're
sure. Not everyone
about.
listening to this is going to be into anime. So, yeah, Kill La Kill is an anime where, how do you explain this premise?
All right, I'm going to Google these show names, and then we'll just go off of what Google tells us, so... And then we can also get a look at some of the ratings on, like, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and all of that stuff, so that's a good idea.
That's fair. Some non-bias elements to throw in here, some things to consider.
Exactly. So, Kill La Kill is an animated television series from Studio Trigger, who have made Gurren Lagann, the anime, and since
and
made
most
Darling
recently...
in the Franxx, big anime studio, very unique style. The IMDb rating for Kill La Kill is 7.9 out of 10.
Really, that's all?
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ah.
A lot of people love this. So the basic premise, Student Council President Satsuki Kirin and her underlings, dubbed the Elite Four, rule Hanuji Academy. They have the school under complete control thanks to their special clothes, Goku uniforms, that give them superhuman abilities. And when transfer student Ryuko Matoi, who is searching for her father's killer, comes to Hanuji Academy, she challenges the Elite Four to a battle that quickly consumes the school. When Satsuki recognizes Ryuko's scissor-shaped sword, she wonders if their encounter is just a coincidence or if it's fate. So there's a lot that this synopsis doesn't include, namely some big old tub-funking hadonkala-donka-doos. Just some real massive holodonkala-donka-roos.
And then another girl comes to school and she's got even crazier bamba honka badoo-gaboos.
Yeah, there's a lot of nudity across both genders.
Along with some scenes that might be uncomfortable for some.
Yeah, episode 14, it takes a dive, but hey, if you haven't seen Kill La Kill and you maybe want to, go check it out. It's a good show, but based on, like, the formation that The Simpsons took of my early life and a majority of my sense of humor, and I still to this day laugh at those early seasons, it's gotta be The Simpsons.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, what affected me more in my life? I love Kill La Kill, especially Studio Trigger. I love anime, but the comedy in The Simpsons has definitely affected me more, and I feel like that gives it the win for sure. So I think Simpsons is moving on to round 2 in this one.
It's also affected our friendship in a way, because one of the earliest jokes that we ever bonded over was Uncle Mo's family feed bag.
Yeah, it's true. We
Here
annoyed
you go,
many
here
people.
I am, Uncle Mo. Thank you, ma'am. This'll be a treat. Uncle Mo, here I am, while you eat.
We annoyed many other people in our lives quoting that shit at each other.
Yeah, here I am.
Thank you, ma'am.
This'll be a treat.
While you eat.
This will be coming up for the rest of the episode, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Okay, so, The Simpsons moves on unanimously.
Yes. Oh, forgot to mention. I don't know exactly how we're going to do it, but if you want to follow along with this bracket on just to have some sort of visual aid while you're listening to this, we're going to try and post some sort of visual representation of this bracket on either Twitter or Instagram or both. So go follow those at Bitter Chat Pod, and you'll be able to find the bracket there.
Yeah, exactly. It helps to know what we're talking about. I mean, you can also Google the names of these shows in advance if you want to get some early reading ahead. So,
Exactly.
moving on to seed number 2, we have 2 very different shows again.
Mm-hmm.
Top Gear
Okay.
and Sex Education.
Okay, so this is very early. We're coming to a show that I'm not familiar with Sex Education. I know about Top Gear, but I do not know about that second one.
Another element of this tournament I don't know if I've mentioned is that, both of us have seen a lot of these shows, but then only one of us has seen some of these shows. So it's our job to try and convince the other person as to why it might advance. Although,
So you've seen Sex Education?
I have seen Sex Education on Netflix.
Okay, so sell me on this.
So, let me just Google the show name here. Sex Education. 2 seasons so far, with a third on the way. 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 94% Rotten Tomatoes. Here's the synopsis. Socially awkward high school student Otis may not have much experience in the lovemaking department, but he gets good guidance on the topic in his personal sex ed course, living with his mother Jean, who is a sex therapist.
Oh.
Being surrounded by manuals, videos, and tediously open conversations about sex, Otis has become a reluctant expert on the subject. When his classmates learn about his home life, Otis decides to use his insider knowledge to improve his status at school, so he teams up with whip-smart bad girl Maeve to set up an underground sex therapy clinic to deal with their classmates' problems. But through his analysis of teenage sexuality, Otis realizes that he may need some therapy of his own.
Okay. So compare that to Top Gear, which is 3 British men talk about cars and annoy the shit out of each other.
And do funny things with the cars.
And that's the show.
That is the show. The hosts have changed as of late due to various controversies, but we're specifically looking at James, Richard, and Jeremy.
Yeah, and then, Jeremy, Richard, and James also started a new show, but
they call it the Grand Tour, but it's only available on Amazon Prime, which I'm not subscribed to.
And that's also not going to really factor into this decision because it's technically a different program altogether. So, all right, I'm trying to think based off what you pitched to me.
It should be mentioned that the cast of Sex Education also plays a big part in this enjoyment for me.
Okay, like how so?
In the main role, you have actor by the name of Asa Butterfield. I don't know if that rings any bells for you.
Not just by name.
Have you ever seen the movie The Boy in the Striped Pajamas?
I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't seen it. I've heard it's terribly sad.
Oh, it is terribly sad. He's the main boy. Did you ever see Hugo?
That one does not even sound familiar.
Then nothing for you there. But his mother is played by Gillian Anderson.
That sounds more familiar.
Mulder. No, Scully. I always confuse them.
Okay.
I'm really terrible.
Okay.
Scully from X-Files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Big old icon there.
So this is a comedy, I'm guessing?
Oh yeah, it's a comedy, but it has dramatic elements. You have Otis, you have his sort of love relationship with Maeve, which is kind of unrequited, but it's sort of not maybe. It's very touch and go with them. And and the synopsis left out a big part of this is there's the character of Otis's best friend, who his name escapes me, but I need to remember. It's been a while since I've seen this, to be fair. The second season only came out last year, and I only saw it at the time when it came out. Eric. His best friend named Eric, who is coming to terms with his identity and his relationship with his school bully, who may or may not be reciprocating of his feelings.
Okay.
There's a lot of sub threads, and it's got this charm and realness to it, but it's not really present in other teen drama shows, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot of the situations here are played for comedy, but then there is also a very serious subplot about sexual assault and all of that stuff, which is it's not so serious, but it sucks the joy out of you. But it makes you think. It makes you reflect on the way that you see things in society. Whereas with Top
Understandable.
Gear, it's three funny men having fun with cars.
Great news.
Oh no! Anyway,
So
I've got to go Top Gear, honestly.
yeah, I was thinking like, and this probably says a lot about me as a person, but like, if I had to choose, if I have some spare time and I have to choose which one of these two shows I'm going to put on to kill that time, it's gotta be Top Gear, I would think. Like,
I think the format of the show lends itself to more binge watching because Sex Education, it has I want to say it has maybe around how many episodes does it have? It has quite a few. I think it's 14, maybe 15. I think there's 7 episodes per season. 2 seasons so far, a third on the way. You could easily binge this over a weekend if you had nothing else to do, but
yeah,
it requires attention. Like,
that's the thing.
you don't have to know anything about cars to enjoy Top Gear, whereas you kind of have to remember who the characters are in Sex Education for you to really get a grip on it.
And this isn't to say that I don't want a show that I have to pay attention to. I mean, I just fucking binged all of Attack on Titan. But I think if I had to choose what to watch in my time between these two shows, I'm just more drawn to funny men do funny card joke as opposed to this more serious drama about very heavy social topics, which there's definitely a place for, but I wouldn't watch it over Top Gear, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that the structure of these different shows are going to lend themselves differently to this bracket. So just because we're eliminating some of these shows out in the first round, that doesn't mean that we don't like them. It just means that, you know, they made it onto the list. Let's put it that way. They put it on the list, and so we, as default, appreciate these shows greatly. At least one of us does. So
yeah, exactly. And I also want to, because in both these first two matchups, we went with the comedy over the more serious show. And I just want to say, like, if Kill la Kill had gone up against almost any other show, I probably would have gone Kill la Kill. It's not just a leaning towards comedy. It's just the fact that these are the shows that influenced us more. And they just happen to be comedies.
we're naturally hilarious people, as you can tell. So, you know, that plays a part.
We'll see how these bits of our personality affect our decisions moving forward in this round. I'm actually curious to see how much more that trend continues, or if we manage to break it sooner than later.
So in the style of the famous meme, oh no!
Anyway,
Top Gear has moved on. So, third seed, Brooklyn Nine-Nine versus Fairly Odd Parents.
Okay, this is interesting. This is a battle of comedies, but more child aimed or adult aimed.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, going on for 7 seasons so far. I think the 8th season will be the final one. 8.4 IMDb, 95% Rotten Tomatoes. It's a comedy about police officers,
which has,
detectives.
in the past year, received some flack for that, but I don't think this is the place to talk about that. I have not seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I know you love it, don't you?
You haven't seen it?
I've seen scenes, and
I thought that like you binged it at some point. I thought that you were like caught up on it.
No. I've seen
Wow.
scenes, and I love the scenes that I've watched, but I've never sat down and watched it.
So it's an ensemble cast. You have Andy Samberg, you have Terry Crews, you have Stephanie Beatriz. What's the name of the woman that plays Gina? Oh, Chelsea Peretti. Yes.
Okay.
And whoever plays the Nine-Nine's chief of the precinct, Captain Raymond Holt.
Yes.
Brilliant actors. Hilarious show. Good storytelling as well.
I think my favorite scene that I've watched is the one where I'm not sure who all the characters are, but one of the women says to the captain, "Why don't you two just shut up and bone?" And he goes on like a 20-minute jump cut tirade about using the word bone, and it's the fucking funniest shit in the world. Because every once in a while, it'll cut between him ranting and yelling at her, and then just him like standing in the doorway, "Bone!" And it's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen.
And then you have classic other moments like Andy Samberg leading the suspect lineup singing I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
It's a lot of funny moments there. But Fairly Odd Parents. The classic,
Yeah.
Timmy Turner is an average kid who no one understands. Mom and Dad and Vicky are always giving him commands. But then his magic little fish will grant him every wish, because in reality, they're his odd parents, his fairly odd parents. Wands and wings, little crowny things. Chocolate shake. It's, we all know what it is.
Yeah. This is another show that, because this is almost unfair, but because this show is something that I literally grew up with. Like, I remember when this show started airing. So it's got a very, but again, it's got a little bit of that Simpsons problem, not to the same extent, but it went on too long. And a lot of it, I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but there's a lot of bad that came after the good. So,
later seasons did suffer. It's the Poochie analogy of just adding in random characters. Like,
I mean,
for the
they
longest time,
literally-
you had Timmy and the Fairly Odd Parents, Cosmo and Wanda.
Yes.
But then you added in a baby.
Yeah. And then they literally added a fairy dog.
They added in a dog, and then they added in another child.
Oh, yeah.
A lady, a little girl who got Cosmo and Wanda as her Fairly Odd Parents as well.
Oh, boy.
It petered off towards the end, and Butch Hartman is a controversial man himself, the guy who created this and other shows like Danny Phantom.
Right.
So you've got that to look at. It kind of taints it a little bit, but
I was just going to say, I think we're going to get to some shows later in this bracket where we're going to run into either actors or showrunners or directors or whatever who have run into controversy. I want to try and separate that from the show themselves, but I know it's going to be difficult. In this instance, I feel like it's a little bit easier since it's an animated show and like none of the voice actors or anyone did anything. But it does bring up an interesting point. When you think Fairly Odd Parents, do you think of the downfall of it, or do you think of when it was at its best?
I think of Jorgen von Strangle, and I think of what was the name of the teacher?
Crocker.
Crocker. I think of Crocker and his mother. I think of I think of Adam West as Catman.
I do love that.
That's a good one. Oh, and the Crimson Chin as well. How can you forget the Crimson Chin? And that one episode where they had the Crimson Chin throughout all the decades and everything.
Yes, I was just thinking about that episode, the like TV special they did where it was like the evil Crimson Chin and
Oh yeah,
all
the Naga Chin.
yes,
Be very careful with how you pronounce that.
And like all the kids got like, it was like an X-Men parody. All the kids got powers and some were villains and some were heroes.
Oh, that fucking, you say X-Men for some reason, that reminds me of like the big bombshell at the end of the season, of the end of the show, like about the nature of the world. I don't know if you know about this.
Well, I don't know if I do.
So I'm gonna try and get
The nature of the world. That literally sounds like Attack on Titan shit.
It kind of is. It's very weird. Like, let me scroll and let me see if I can find the the ending, because
I know Attack on Titan, Fairly Odd Parents frequently had like specials and stuff where like, not that they got more serious, but like they would actually share more about some of these characters. Like I remember there was one special where they go through Crocker's life, and it turns out he actually had Cosmo and Wanda when he was a child, and so he has these like subconscious memories of them, and that's why he's obsessed with fairy godparents. And there was the one with the remote, and Timmy having to deal with the fact that someday he's going to get old enough where he doesn't need Cosmo and Wanda anymore, and what's he going to do after that? Or the one where he celebrates having them for a full year, and he gets the magic muffin, and then a monkey gets it and turns the world into Planet of the Apes. and he has to fight Crocker on an atom, and then he splits it with an arrow and causes a nuclear explosion. Like, these are the things I remember Fairly Odd Parents for, is these specials, which were like monumentous as a child.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm trying to scroll the Fairly Odd Parents wiki to try and figure out what the big bombshell ending was, but yeah, vamp more while I try and look at this, because oh my god, it's kind of nuts the way that it turned out.
I mean, because of these things I'm mentioning, I'm sure that wiki's dense as shit, especially when you take into account some of the stuff with like the anti-fairies and their whole like existence, and the like, I guess you could make implications based on that, and then you got to include actual kind of multiverse shit when you take into account the possible canonical ramifications of stuff like the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. Like, there's literally, I'm not surprised this wiki is
oh
huge.
Yeah, the crossover with Jimmy Neutron in it.
Yeah, and they did like 3 of those, which I remember when I was a kid, it was like the biggest mind blow shit, seeing Jimmy animated in 2D and Timmy in 3D, and then like just seeing all the shit that these characters get into. And then I think it was the second Power Hour where Jorgen von Strangle and Dr. Calamitous from Jimmy Neutron like fused into like some Siamese freak. Like, it was crazy. So I'm not at all surprised when you say that the wiki for Fairly Odd Parents is dense, as weird as that sounds.
Okay, we're gonna be here forever if I can't find it, but essentially what happens is that when Timmy got his fairies, like the entire world froze, like time stopped, so that he could have these fairies, and it turns out at the end they've been in this frozen state of time for 60 years.
What?
And so like that, the time starts again, and you see Timmy as like an old man. Like, he's 60 years old, and like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to find like the synopsis for it, but I can't find it anywhere. I know I'm not crazy, right? I know this happened, but it's like a creepypasta in my head now. I'm like, did this really happen? Did time really freeze for everybody for 60 years?
So, is the show done at this point?
Oh yeah, the show's done. It finished a couple years ago.
Huh.
Oh yeah, the secret wish, Timmy's secret wish, that was it. It's an hour
What?
long. It's only the 2nd episode of season 8, but it is the 10th and final animated TV movie in the series.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
It is revealed that 50 years have passed since the pilot, but Timmy made a secret wish to Cosmo to keep people from aging. As fairies do not age past adulthood, they did not notice humans also stopped aging. Father Time makes things worse by fast-forwarding time on Earth to the same amount of denied years in the future. Nearly everyone on Earth is now an old person, and thus humanity is doomed, as it is impossible for new humans to be born. As a side effect, they do not question the sudden loss of youth. However, Cosmo and Wanda manage to restore Timmy to age 10, and Wanda requests Father Time for what he should have done. Everyone's age is restored to normal, and time flows regularly again.
So,
This is literally like Enrico Pucci levels of fucking bullshit right here.
yeah, but it also seems like the whole movie was just like, hey, creepy time shit, but none of it matters. We all put it back to normal.
I just find that so weird that the show eventually ended up there. Like, that's so weird to me.
That's such a, like... It's just because it's on my mind, but it really is like Aaron Yeager shit. Like, I want nothing to change. Like, I want time to stop, but no one knows. And I've just created this false reality. Holy shit.
So, Brooklyn Nine-Nine had a funny bit where... Jake Peralta played the guitar and he screamed as an interrogation tactic.
Yeah, I like that. I like that bit.
So, who goes onward? I think it's gonna have to be Fairly Odd Parents.
I think just based on the conversation we just had about it, like how deep that conversation just went, I think it has to be.
Yeah, for real. Okay, next seed we have.
Wait, all right, so hold on. Let's take this time because I did not think the first 3 matchups were going to take almost 40 minutes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, everybody.
Hey, we're going to get a lot of content out of this tournament, it seems.
Hell yeah.
Let's take this time to go to a little ad break.
Oh my god, an advertisement in my podcast?
It's more likely than you think. We'll be right back.
Oh my god, I loved that. That was an
great.
incredible advertisement.
Fantastic.
It's one that I definitely heard with my 2 ears right now.
Absolutely. We did it right now in real time.
Indeed. So, seed number 4.
Yes.
Teen Titans
Okay.
versus Pokemon Indigo League.
Ooh, interesting how this is a separated season.
Because if we were going to include the entirety of the Pokemon anime, that would include Pokemon Johto Journey, fucking the Advanced Generation, all of the games. And I know for a fact, neither of us have seen anything from the new Pokemon animes, alright?
No, I think the last season I saw was whatever one where they're in Hoenn.
I think that was Advanced Generation.
Probably.
The only thing I know about the newer seasons is it only extends to Diamond and Pearl, wherein at like the end of the season, Ash is in the Pokemon League. He gets to like the finals or the semifinals, and then this random guy who was never seen before, and then is never seen again, pulls out like 3 different legendaries and just curb stomps Ash out of the tournament. And that's how it ends. Like it's just some random guy. I think his name's like Derek or something? Like, what the fuck was his name? Pokemon Diamond Pearl anime character. Like, it's just, he shows up once, and then he just destroys him with, like, a Darkrai and a Latios, and it's like, who are you? How did you get these creatures that are supposedly single entities? Like,
Yeah, I guess that's red.
It was, yeah, I think he was only there for literally 1 episode.
Just to give an excuse for Ash to lose again.
And then he didn't even beat Cynthia.
Oh, that's the worst. I hate when the person that beats Ash, like, doesn't even, like, you can't even feel good about it.
Yeah.
Because they did that in Indigo with fucking, what's-his-face? Sparky Face.
Sparky Face?
The guy who owned Sparky. I don't remember his name.
I don't know either.
Ricky?
Yeah, Richie, I think.
Yeah.
Let me double check. Let me go on Bulbapedia and put in Sparky.
Because it was the first... I just remember Sparky because it was the first time in the show they acknowledged you can nickname your Pokemon.
Yeah, why did Ash never nickname his Pokemon?
Because he's a fucking cuck.
Yeah.
He sucks. Ash is the worst trainer. I'm not covering new ground here by saying this, but Ash sucks.
No, it's not a controversial opinion to say that Ash sucks nuts, but...
Yeah, he's terrible. And I every time he gets a cool Pokemon and lets it go, I'm like, oh, God.
Be free, Butterfree.
Or the one that upset me the most as a kid watching the series was Primeape. Because that episode made Primeape one of my favorite Pokemon. And then he just doesn't keep him. It's like, no, stay here and box. It's like, but why?
You could win the league with him.
And then fucking don't even get me started on Charizard going to fucking Charizard Mountain or whatever. I hate it.
That's the thing that confused me most with the anime, is that they added in a load of unique shit that was not present in the games, and I'm just like, where's Charizard Mountain in Pokemon Blue? Like,
and I remember as a kid, I never saw the episode where he caught Muck, and so the one where he's in the tournament or the fucking whatever, and he uses Muck out of nowhere. I'm like, when did this guy happen?
Muck.
But it was awesome, and then he never uses him again.
Because there's like over 500 new Pokemon to use, Carmine.
It's so annoying. I hate it.
Teen Titans.
I love Teen Titans. Now, here's the thing. It never really got its ending.
They had a movie where they went to Japan?
Yeah, but that's not an ending to the series.
I remember there being an ending.
No, because I remember that movie, and they fight an ink monster man, and then that's it.
But then wasn't there also like an ending to the whole Terra character?
Not in that
as
movie,
well?
I don't think.
I thought the show just had its own ending.
No, well, so
Might be remembering it wrong.
what I remember is that they get to a point where Tara does what she does, and then she like returns, but it's kind of Beast Boy's like imagination, I think. I might be misremembering it a little
No,
bit.
I think what it was that, for context, you have Terra, this super cute little lady friend of Beast Boy's, and they form a romantic relationship, but then Terra is under the control of, he's not called Deathstroke, he's called Slade, right?
Yeah.
Deathstroke, also known as Slade, because you can't call the guy Deathstroke in a kid's TV series. So,
Right.
she sacrifices herself, turns into stone in a statue to get rid of Slade, and it's very sad, very emotional. I connected with that story quite a lot when I was young. And then one day, statue's gone. Because Beast Boy often visits it, because he gets sad. He looks at it and he looks sad. Statue's gone. Where's it gone? And then a schoolgirl who just so happens to look a lot like Terra shows up, and as Beast Boy's like, "Hey, remember me? I'm Beast Boy." That's how he talks. And then she basically it's implied that she knows, but she doesn't want to cause him or her any more pain by existing in the superhero universe, so she pretends to have amnesia.
I remember as a kid watching that, not knowing if it was her faking it or actually not remembering, but that would either way make sense.
It was a tragic story, put it that way.
Yeah, and then it didn't really finish. Like, it felt like there was more to be said, but then the show never continued.
So then I guess that plays a part in it, whereas Indigo League did have a definite ending. It's a battle of the theme songs, really. You have "When There's Trouble, You Know Who to Call," Teen Titans versus Charmeleon, Wartortle, Mewtwo, Tentacruel, Aerodactyl.
It's not the theme song.
That's the poker rap.
It's the poker rap, but it's not the theme song to Pokemon.
I wanna be the very best. Everyone knows. I hate that song. Poker rap's infinitely better. The poker rap is infinitely better.
Sorta.
I mean, hey, listen, let's shake out those lips. We got 24 more to go. I want to be the best there ever was. Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Pidgey.
When you say it like that, it sounds like this singer / rapper, whatever, is like schizophrenic. Like he's just hopping back and forth between two completely different songs at any given time.
Release from my hand the power that's inside. Venomoth, Poliwag, Nidorino, Golduck, Ivysaur, Grimer, Victreebel, Moltres. Pokemon! At least 150 of landed dead to be a Pokemon Master. Destiny! Alakazam, Doduo, Venonat, Macho, Kankazan, Hypno, Electabuzz, Flareon.
Does anyone actually know the legitimate order in which he says all the Pokemon in the Poké Rap?
I know only those verses that I've just been screaming down the mic.
The only bit I legitimately remember is probably the bit everyone remembers, which is Charmeleon!
Wartortle, Mewtwo, Tentacruel, Aerodactyl, Armanite, Slowpoke, Pidgeot, Arbok, and that's all, folks.
Fucking wild.
Catch 'em, gotta catch them all. Pokemon.
But that was additional content. That was not actually part of the show.
Oh, don't fucking brand the Poké Rap as DLC, alright?
It's a DLC.
It was in the show at one point. It was like the end credits for like most episodes.
But it's not like an episode.
What do you want? I
don't know what you want. Compare the shows for what they were.
I love both of them. I don't know. I think you might have to decide this.
Here's where I stand on this. Both shows had their comedic elements, and then both shows had their more plot-driven elements. As far as who did what better,
I think Teen Titans.
Yeah, I think it was funnier when it was supposed to be funny, and I think it was more dramatic and engaging when it was trying to be dramatic.
Yeah, they had some scary moments as well, which mostly down to
Raven's whole shit with her dad.
And Raven, like, oh my god, yeah, Teen Titans advances. Oh
yeah, the whole Slade Red X arc was fantastic. It's got to be Teen Titans.
Oh no. Oh no.
What do we got?
I feel like we've reached our first impasse here.
Uh-oh.
Game of Thrones
Oh, boy.
versus
Mhm.
Amazing World of Gumball.
Whoa!
Oh, I don't care, man. It's Amazing World of Gumball.
No
You're not changing my
fucking
mind.
way. No way on earth.
Oh, come on. Amazing World of Gumball.
Look.
The blending of art styles, the different characters, and the comedy that comes from that. The references to real life fucking things.
I appreciate Gumball for many things. And I think out of a lot of the more modern kid shows, it's got to be the best one.
Does Game of Thrones have traditional animation, puppets, CGI, stop motion, flash animation, and live action all at the same time? Or does it only have live action and CGI? Not only is it the widest berth of disciplines that you've ever heard of, they all blend together seamlessly. They work so well off of each other. If you put that in any other show, would not work.
On an artistic level, I cannot argue with what you're saying. Gumball is a very well-made show. And again, I love its writing. I love its jokes. I love its references. Would I watch it over Game of Thrones? No!
I feel like this is probably something I'm not going to budge on, only because I tried to watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's so unnecessarily... I don't want to say edgy, but
no,
you know what I mean.
It's the like
the violence, the sex stuff, the everything about it is like, you can have that. I'm not a prude. I'm not adverse to any of this, but Oberyn Tyrell? That, no. I'm sorry, there's no way that you can justify that level of horrid gore.
The idea of the series by the author is that it's a realistic medieval world, which unfortunately looked a lot like this, except for the obvious.
What do you mean realistic medieval? Medieval is a fictional thing. There's never medieval anything.
You know what I'm talking about? The era of knights and shit. Not feudal. I don't know words good, but you know the part I'm talking about.
I always thought that was just fiction. I didn't think we actually did that as people. Were knights ever real?
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? They could easily just be made up.
What are we arguing right now?
Are you saying that fucking King Arthur was actually a real person?
Knights as a concept existing and King Arthur existing are not one and the same.
That's what are you talking about?
In the early Middle Ages of Europe,
like
knighthood
Knights
was
of the Round Table and shit. That's like all fictional stuff. We were never actually knights in real life.
Are you trolling me right now?
What are you trying to tell me? Are you saying that Game of Thrones is based on real events?
Not that these things happened, but the setting they exist in existed.
What, with fucking ice people and dead shit?
Obviously, there's supernatural elements to it, but I
was
mean,
Khal Drogo real?
I'm livid right now. Yeah, I know when you're doing things just to annoy me, but it still works, and I hate it.
I'm not even... Okay, no, hang on. All right, the idea of, like, Knights of the Round Table and everything, was that ever, like, an actual period in history?
Knights of the Round Table was an element of King Arthur, which I believe King Arthur was purely fictional. But knights, as a concept, serving kings and lords and all that, were real.
When was this?
In the early Middle Ages.
Okay, all right. That's another...
The age where lords owned lands and peasants worked on the land for minimal food and resources, and it wasn't cool.
And a dragon shows up. All right, no, all right. I think we're gonna have to go to our third man over here because
Yeah, so I don't know if we addressed this at the top of this, but we have a tiebreaker for situations like this where we're not going to budge on each other's opinions, and it is our resident um, professional simp Ellie Wilmer.
follow her on Twitter at BangtanBabyV or whatever the hell her Twitter handle is.
Yeah.
So this is my partner. Been with her for about 8 years this year. Voice of reason, often, when it comes to our conflicts.
Yes, she's great at delivering what I earlier described as swift decision making.
And the decision's in.
What did she? I can guess what she said, but what did she say?
I sent you a screenshot to your personal Facebook account, just so that you know that this isn't fictional.
Oh God!
Amazing World of Gumball advances! Game of Thrones is out in the first round. Sorry,
Yeah.
not sorry.
I call shenanigans, but I have to go with the judge's decision, so we will move on.
The integrity of the bracket is as such, okay?
Yep. All right. Fine. Like I said, I appreciate Gumball, so I can't be too upset. But I think it was a bad matchup.
But that's the nature of the bracket. It's fair.
Sure.
So, the next seed is Rick and Morty
Okay.
versus Orange is the New Black. Again, with the disparate source materials, alright? This is fucking... Oh my god, okay.
All right. Have you seen Orange is the New Black?
Yes.
Okay. I have not, and I know you have not seen Rick and Morty. Whereas
I've seen Rick and Morty.
You have seen Rick and Morty?
I do not like Rick and Morty.
Interesting.
When I went to visit the land of Lincoln to
Uh-huh.
stay with our mutual friends, Liam, Andy, and Keelan,
Yes.
they decided to show me a couple episodes of Rick and Morty. About
Okay.
3 of them, I think.
Were they season 1?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
The tipping point for me was when they went to this, aptly enough, a medieval setting where
Uh-oh.
Morty gets molested in a bathroom by some weird jelly bean looking alien thing.
Now, okay.
You know what I'm on about, right?
I absolutely know what you're on about.
This is the point where I was like, no, this
I'm not
style
gonna
of humor
say
isn't for
you
me.
would still like this show because I know you, and I know that there's not really at this point anything that's going to persuade you towards Rick and Morty. I do think, however, you were done a grave disservice being shown that episode first.
Oh no, that wasn't the first one I saw. That was maybe the third one that I saw. The first episode that I saw was the one where he had to shove it way up his butt.
Way everybody. I mean, that's a very pilot episode. Like, it's not the best episode the show has to offer by any means.
The sense of humor comes across to me as like, it's not like Game of Thrones where it's like edgy, but it pushes the envelope in a direction that doesn't make me laugh, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and there's a lot of scenes like that where they're not really meant to make you laugh, and it's the scenes that people talk about more where it's like, oh, that's where the cringy ass fan base of Rick and Morty comes from, is scenes like that.
That too is also a detractor in my eyes.
I try not to let that influence me. But I'd be lying if I said when I think about Rick and Morty, I don't think about my enjoyment of it first, because I do enjoy Rick and Morty. I like that show a lot. But I don't think about my enjoyment first when that name gets brought up. I think about the annoying fans, which is unfortunate. So,
Orange is the New Black.
sell me on this. I've never seen it.
It's got 7 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I tapped out at the beginning of number 3.
Right off the bat, that does not enlisted a lot of confidence in me for this show.
This show induced a lot of anger in its fan base the more it went on because of characters being written out in various ways but were not very well executed from what I can gather. But
I know about one death that upset a lot of people.
yeah, we're probably thinking of the same thing, but
Probably.
I think the first 2 seasons are really, really good storytelling. For those who don't know, it's based on a true story. 10 years ago, a woman by the name of Piper transports drug money for her then partner named Alex. She gets imprisoned for this taken away from her fiancé, her normal life, and put in an all-women's prison. Alex is also in this prison. And so are a various cast of unique characters, such as Nikki Nichols, portrayed by Natasha Lyonne, for those who know. Very entertaining character. Suzanne, also known as Crazy Eyes. You got Tasha Tasty. You got Dayanara. You got Red, played by Kate Mulgrew, who is also in Star Trek and all of that stuff. So it's an ensemble cast with a lot of talented actresses, and it does a lot for feminism as well, or at least the early seasons did.
Right.
Great storyline. One of the best villains I've seen on TV came in at season 2. But saying that, that's less than a third of the entire show that I've seen.
Right, and that's sort of what I was just about to bring up, is the fact that it sounds like people who like this show, because another thing is that even though, as you were listing those characters, as someone who's never ever seen the show, I was even familiar with some of the characters you're talking about. Like, they became very big cultural touchstones for a lot of people. However, fans of that show, people who already liked it, were the same people that got turned off by it later as it ran. Whereas where Rick and Morty is not for everyone, the people who do like it have never stopped liking it. And it's even won some people over. Obviously not everybody, and it's not going to win everybody over. But there hasn't been a decline. So I think that's something to consider, even when one does not enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I think you're right, honestly. Let's go with Rick and Morty for this bracket.
I think so, yeah. Oddly enough, I did not think it was going to win this round, but as you were saying that about Orange is the New Black, I was like,
you do make good points. I concede that my viewpoints aren't necessarily valid in regards to the bigger picture, because obviously this show has done wonders. It's got 4 seasons, it's got a movie, it's like changed pop culture for better or for worse, so...
Yeah, maybe more for worse, but still.
So I was sitting there, barbecue sauce on my titties. That is from Orange is the New Black, fun fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That is true. From, I think, the 3rd episode of the 1st season.
Wow, okay.
Oh boy, this next one.
Oh, let's see what we got.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Okay.
Versus Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
Oh my god. This is interesting.
Oh, even I'm torn here.
Here's the thing. I've mentioned a few times in these matchups, like, oh, this show has influenced me more. You have been influenced by both of these shows, whereas for me, as much as I did occasionally watch Power Rangers and enjoy it, it wasn't really a big part of my life. It was like an occasional treat, whereas Ed, Ed and Eddie was like my Fridays for years. It was the show on Cartoon Network that I looked forward to the most, because it was just great comedy all the time. Even, I think I've heard that some people don't like some of the later seasons of Ed, Ed and Eddie, but from what I remember, it was still great stuff. And then it culminated in its movie, which was its finale, and it's a great ending to that show. So I'd be hard pressed to go against it in this round. But by all means, if you have a case for Power Rangers, because I know you're the bigger Power Rangers fan by far of the two of us.
Well, here's the thing about Power Rangers, right? This is only Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is only the first, I want to say iteration, because it lasted for a couple of seasons. It got kind of weird. They added in some other characters, some other costumes, and it got, I don't want to say, it transitioned. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking to say. It transitioned because at the beginning you just had the main colors. Red Ranger was the leader, Jason, the Red Ranger. But then by the end of it, you had the White Ranger, and then they became ninjas, and then there were some aliens at one point. Alien Rangers.
Now, it's worth mentioning you specifically said Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is not my favorite Power Rangers series.
But it is the one we're putting up against Ed, Ed and Eddie here.
Because Mighty Morphin is more culturally significant.
Right. It was
If I would
first.
if I were to put in my favorite Power Ranger series, it would probably be In Space.
Yeah. Yeah, you love In Space.
Following
But,
that, Time Force.
and here's the other thing.
Following that, Dino Thunder.
I remember Dino Thunder. I enjoyed Dino Thunder.
There's a
Um,
lot of Power Ranger seasons. Let's be
yeah.
clear. There's like over 30 of them now.
Yeah.
The
There's
first 6 were a continuous storyline from Mighty Morphin up to In Space. Continuous storyline with changing characters. After
Yes.
that, they each became their own sort of self-contained things. And
Right.
let's not forget to mention the nature of Power Rangers is that it's derived from a Japanese genre called Super Sentai.
Yes.
And without exposure to Power Rangers when I was maybe like 2 years old, I don't think I would have such a fascination with Japanese Asian culture. I think Power Rangers sort of set it up on a silver platter for me. So
Maybe.
I gotta think of it that way.
Possibly.
Has it aged well?
That's another question.
Compared to Ed, Edd and Eddy, no.
No, I don't think so.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as good as it is, it's got what I call the Space Jam aura.
Ooh.
In that it is so, like, deeply entrenched in the 90s
Yes.
that if you were to ever show anyone from the modern day, if you were to show a Zoomer, like an episode of Power Rangers where Zack is doing his hip-hop, I forget what it's called, the hip-hop, like, dancing karate.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, and just all of the outfits and the characters and like them going to the juice bar, like it doesn't hold up whatsoever, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that if you were to compare this to Ed, Edd and Eddy, I'd say that sort of humor is timeless.
Yeah. It didn't
The
date
absurdist
itself.
humor has shaped me in a way that also changed my perspective on what is funny and what is not.
Yes.
Who is your favorite Ed?
Oh, man. You know, I don't think my answer's ever changed. I think it's always been Ed, Big Ed.
Yep, same.
You know, as a kid, I always liked the clearly comedic, like pure comedic character, but in that show, they kind of all are. I think Ed is just such a great vehicle for punchlines. Like,
Absolutely. You have Eddie, who is the scam artist, always looking to make money. You've got Double D, who is the nerd, like
neurotic.
very neurotic. And then Ed can best be described as like an eldritch abomination in the form of a child.
Yeah. He's
Remember that
capable
time
of superhuman
when
things.
he was grounded by his parents taking out the stairs to the basement where he
I
lived?
sure do.
That's disturbing, said Double D, and I concur, Double D. That is disturbing.
There's a fantastic shot, and I don't even remember what the crux of this episode is, but there's one shot that sums them up each perfectly. And it's as they're all running to go do something, and they come across this like door in a fence. Eddie jumps over it. Double D carefully opens it, walks through it, and then closes it. Ed liquefies and then morphs through a hole in the door.
Not where you thought we'd be going, huh?
It's the perfect absurdist humor is what you said a second ago.
Absurdist humor. Remember that time when I think it might have been Ed took the outline of one of the characters and then turned them into liquid?
Yes, I think it was Jimmy that he did that too.
Carried around in a pitcher jar.
I think it was Jimmy that he did that too.
It was Jimmy. The cast of characters as well. Rolf is incredibly funny with his weird European farm lifestyle.
He is an ambiguous foreigner.
What was his name? Johnny? The kid with Plank?
Johnny, yes. Johnny 2x4.
Johnny 2x4, and then Plank itself is an iconic thing because it's a plank of fucking wood. But if you were to draw on like the coloured eyes and the mouth, like, oh my god, he's Plank versus Zordon. That's the fight of the century here. All right.
Yeah, and I think Plank wins.
I'm gonna have to give it to Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah, I have to agree.
I feel like I'm betraying myself here, but honestly. It just holds up better.
It's the argument of what you said, that Ed and Eddy is way more timeless, and I think that says a lot.
Absolutely. Next bracket. Gretzko
Okay.
and the IT Crowd.
Have you seen the IT Crowd?
I love the IT Crowd.
Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting one because IT Crowd, based on other decisions I've made in this tournament so far, is going to seem like the one I would obviously go for. However, I fucking love Agretzko, which has comedic elements, but is not primarily a comedy. It is much more a slice of life. I don't know if drama is the right word, but just a slice of life, like case study of a normal ass young adult woman in the Japanese work environment.
I tried to finish the first season.
Oh my god, no, don't say what you're going to say.
I didn't want to finish the first season.
No!
I'm sorry, man. It doesn't grip me.
It's so interesting you say that. I feel like grip me is the best way I would describe Agretzko. I am like deeply...
Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of the animation. I love the look of the show. The characters are really funny. They're voiced. Do you watch it in English or Japanese?
I primarily watch it in Japanese, but I will occasionally enjoy the dub. I think it's fun.
See, I've only seen it in English. So I don't know whether that would influence me, but I don't know. It's just something about the story and the way it is. Like, I don't know. It didn't keep me involved. Whereas the IT Crowd, probably one of the best British comedies to have come out of this island in the past decade.
Now, here's another element to this. I said before when Brooklyn Nine-Nine came up, I never watched it, but I've seen a lot of scenes. I've really never seen anything from the IT Crowd, so I don't really even know how its comedy is.
So it's written by the same guy who did Black Books and Father Ted.
I don't know.
You're an American. You don't understand what I'm saying right now. But what I will say is that the IT Crowd is about 3 people in the basement of an IT company.
Okay.
You've got Maurice Moss, they call him Moss, played by Richard Ayoade.
Yes, him I'm familiar with.
You've got Roy, played by Chris O'Dowd.
Okay.
And you've got the department head, Jen Barber, played by Catherine Parkinson.
Okay.
She knows nothing about IT. Whereas Roy is a slacker. His answer to every phone call to the IT department is, "Hello, IT, have you tried turning it off and on again?" And is it definitely plugged in? And then you got Moss, who is neurotic, crazy in his own way. Very weird, very funny. His ear gets hot, so he has to spray it with liquid sometimes.
Okay.
And then Noel Fielding also lives in the basement behind a secret door.
I did not know he was in this show. I'm suddenly much more interested.
He plays a character named Richmond, who is hinted to be a vampire.
Okay.
But he may not be a vampire. He might just be a goth who doesn't like sunlight.
That sounds perfect for him.
He's hilarious.
Yes.
A lot of the show is hilarious. A lot of the gags in the show transcend this island. I'm trying to think of which ones are best. There was an episode where where they convinced Jen that the internet was a little black box with a red light bulb on it. This, Jen, is the internet. And to not break it, transport it carefully, because if it breaks, the internet goes away forever.
That's pretty good.
It's just... There's a lot of... there's only 25 episodes. A common theme with British comedies is that they have a lot of seasons, but the episodes are maybe like 6 per season.
Okay.
My favorite episode is the one where they go to the theatre.
Okay.
During which Roy accidentally pulls the call for help in the disabled toilets little lever. So when they break down the door, he pretends to be disabled.
Oh my god.
He falls over, and then whenever they ask him anything, he goes, "I'm disabled." And he has to like lie to these people that he's been assaulted, and that's why he pulled the lever, when really he just wanted to flush the toilet.
Oh my god.
And then he ends up in a wheelchair. And by the end of it, he's on a bus to the disabled care home in Manchester, who just so happened to come to the theatre that night.
That's... Oh.
And the musical that they see is about gay men.
Mm.
One of the famous songs is, Willies, Willies, I like Willies. You have Jen on a date with a man who is clearly gay, but is trying to deny this. And then Moss gets roped into working behind the bar.
Wow.
These episodes are like purely chaotic and incredibly British. It's a very dry, dark comedy.
Here's a question.
I just think it's one of the best comedy shows that we've had in a long time. So
these bits you're telling me sound amazing. It does raise a question. I don't know if this particular show I'm about to say is on this bracket at any point, but if it does come up at any point, you're well aware. I'm immediately going to vote against it because I don't like cringe humor that The Office and shows like that present. Does this show use cringe humor frequently?
Not frequently, only sometimes.
Okay, as long as it's only sometimes, I can deal with that.
Only sometimes.
Okay. So then that... It sounds like I probably would enjoy this show.
I feel like you really would. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, or at least if it isn't, there's going to be free versions somewhere. So I feel like you should check it out. But I'm going to vote for this over Agretzko, because
I
for
think,
the reasons I've just said.
As far as like objectively better shows, that's hard to say having not seen one of them. But
shall we go to the tiebreaker?
Let's see what she has to say. I'm willing to budge, but I want to see what she says.
Agretzko versus the IT crowd.
What
I'm so in awe and shock at the difference between some of these shows.
Oh, it's been amazing so far.
Her first response was, "Oh fuck,"
because I think I was thinking like
she's seen both and she enjoys both. So
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
This is a problem where we're gonna have... What if our tiebreaker isn't able to reach a decision?
That's true.
Oh no. Although I feel like a lot of these are gonna be maybe a bit like this.
Probably.
I feel like I put in maybe one too many shows that only one of us have seen.
I mean, that it brings up interesting conversation like this. I didn't think I was going to go against Agretzko, but the more you described IT Crowd, like it's possible.
Let me Google some more moments in episodes. Oh my god, there's this one character called I'm pretty sure his name is Denham Renham.
That's a fucking joke we would make. All right.
He's the head of the IT company, and he also doesn't know anything about IT. So in the first episode, Roy lies to him and tells him that they've installed a voice-activated command system on his desktop computer.
Oh boy.
And so you have him just going, hello computer, just trying to get it to work. At one point he picks up the mouse and is like, hello computer. And then that's like at the beginning of the episode, and then at the end of the episode, like it's nighttime, he's still in his office, he's just screaming, hello at this fucking desktop, and it's not turning on at all.
That's a fucking character we would make. This show speaks to me. I'm gonna shift my vote. I'm gonna go IT Crowd.
And then he jumps out the window and kills himself when it's revealed that he's been stealing from the company's pension.
Oh my god!
And then his son comes in, Douglas Renham, who's he's a whole character in himself.
You know what? Let's give this one IT Crowd.
IT Crowd, baby! You are gonna love this when you watch it. I guarantee it.
I think you're right.
Love to Agretzko, but it just didn't hold me. I'm very sorry. So,
I still love
next
you,
bracket.
Agretzko.
Futurama.
Ooh.
WandaVision.
Oh my god!
This is almost impossible for me to choose.
This is a tough one. Because anyone who is somehow not familiar with this, Futurama is made by the same mind that created The Simpsons, Matt Groening. And unlike The Simpsons, Futurama did not outstay its welcome. It stayed good to the day it stopped.
Famously, it had low ratings, but then it was brought back to life through DVD sales, where it got 4 movies, like listed as its own episodes when played on TV, but they are, all intents and purposes, 4 different movies that give it an actual definitive end.
Yeah, and it touches on
some of the
something we've
gags from
mentioned.
IT Crowd, and not IT Crowd, fuck, I still got the Google tab open, sorry. Some of the gags from Futurama and some of the characters are incredible, like Zoidberg in of itself is incredible. Bender, like, oh my god. There's just... Both
And
of these are
there's-
on Disney Plus, by the way, that's weird.
Similar to Simpsons, there are bits that we've quoted at each other that just I laugh at every fucking time. Like fucking the big brain, I'm winning again. I am the greatest. Now I am leaving the earth for no reason.
All I know is my gut says maybe. With blackjack and hookers. You know what? Forget the blackjack in the theme park. Screw the whole thing.
And it touches on something we've said in some other shows where it hits this balance between comedy and drama. Famously, the episode with the dog, Seymour.
And the one with Fry's brother and the lucky 7-leaf clover.
Oh my god.
And the one with Leela's parents who live in the sewers, who have been looking after her whole life from the sewers, but she doesn't know.
It's a lot. It's really fantastic.
And then they have those weird, like, one-shot movies where they were playing D&D at one point.
I don't even know about that one.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the third one, wherein they were all just in a massive D&D campaign.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's a lot of really great episodes. The whole show's great, I think. But then you take this really well done. I don't know how many seasons Futurama is, but let's, for all intents and purposes, especially compared to what we're putting it up
Futurama
against.
has 7 seasons, started in 1999, and then it ended in 2013.
There you go. So take this great, pretty consistent, long-running show, and then put it up against a really dense 9-episode miniseries that is both impactful and WandaVision's fantastic.
I will say this. Futurama, you can watch that. Anyone can watch that and enjoy it. WandaVision, it helps to understand the source material and to know where the characters come from.
I don't think source
it's not
material...
self-contained.
That's more the thing. I don't think source material is so much important as the rest of the
I don't
MCU.
mean the comics, I mean the MCU movies.
Yeah. It's
If you were to watch a random episode of Futurama, say for example the one where they go to the planet where all the aliens are liquid and then they become the king by drinking the king, and then Fry accidentally drinks the king and then he becomes the king, and then they're trying to figure out how to drink Fry so they can become the new king. To imagine that. It's just on TV.
Yeah.
You can watch that and you think, oh, it's funny jokes. If you were to see like episode 1, 2, any episode of WandaVision, you would have no idea who these characters are, what the setting is, or anything like that.
And it's
not
not
that
even
moral again of having like binge-worthy seasons and then just having self-contained episodes.
Yeah, it's a fine line on how important that is to this decision, because in context, WandaVision, it has so much to offer, but out of context, is it anywhere near as good?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Futurama.
I think I agree, and that's shocking to me.
If these were up against any other show, I feel like both of them would be winners, but honestly, WandaVision is great, but the ending does have some elements that I did not like.
Really?
I did not enjoy Ralph Boner.
Oh, well, I mean, okay, yeah, that's a very common complaint. I'm
not going to say that it ruined the show. I'm not going to say that it tanked the whole thing. I'm just going to say that one specific plot thread did not please me.
Whereas I think about the ending and like, yeah, Ralph Boner, whatever. I'm not super upset about that. But the Ship of Theseus scene, oh my god,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
oh. But still,
I'm
I did
sorry.
not think WandaVision was going to get knocked out in round one. But I have to go with Futurama.
I mean, hey, we have 64 shows. 32 of those are not going to make it.
Yeah,
We have to half this. Disparate but fair. Thanos snap it. Futurama moves on.
yeah.
Fucking love WandaVision. And I'm pretty sure if we were to do this, like, in a couple weeks' time, Falcon and Winter Soldier would be on this, and I prefer that to WandaVision.
I don't know which
Just
one I
gonna say
prefer
that
so
now.
far. I have to see how Falcon and Winter Soldier finishes.
Oh, I feel like this one's going to be a quick one. And not in the way that you think. Doctor Who
Oh,
versus Avatar The Last Airbender.
Avatar. Now, here's the thing. I've never seen Doctor Who. But at the same time...
I've never seen Avatar.
Yeah, that's true also. He hasn't seen Avatar. But at the same time, I don't think I need to make this decision. I get the
See,
premise.
thing is, I want to put trust in your decision, but
I've never
Doctor
really...
Who, man.
I've never really dove into what makes Avatar a good show when I talk to you about it, because I kind of wanted you to see it for yourself. But I feel like now's a
Well, I
fair
assume
time.
it's like the characters and the stories, and they all combine together to make a perfect storm, and like the themes and the settings and all of that, and the fact that it somehow manages to balance like a serious plot thread with also humor.
Yeah, it's a show for children, but it does so... It is that while also allowing itself to introduce and talk about these very more mature ideas about responsibility and identity and, you know, what is right and wrong, how much of that is up to you, and I know there is a enormous fan base for Doctor Who, and I'm sure there are themes like that in that show that I'm just not privy to. But I also have to look at this part of it. Avatar is 3 seasons. It is exactly as long as it needs to be to tell the story it's trying to tell. It's not any shorter. It's not any longer. And then you look at Doctor Who, which is still ongoing. And even though it has dictated that it has an end point, some people believe that's not even going to be held accountable. And I don't know how I feel about that.
I think purely this show has been on since 1963.
And then you consider that.
And this show has shaped popular culture way more than Avatar has, and
Sure.
probably ever will. Like that iconic TARDIS, the blue phone box,
Yeah.
the sonic screwdriver, Daleks, Cybermen, like the character of the Doctor
Mm-hmm.
being portrayed by all of these different actors and actress, so that they all give their own unique interpretations of this character. And yes, you can argue that there is a big like canyon in between the classic series, which ended in the 90s, and then the new revival, which started again in 2005. There's so much of it. There's so many characters and so many plot elements to this. It's a lot to take in. And it's not something that you can dive into as easy as Avatar.
That's another thing.
But I will say, I think... I'm only thinking about up until the 11th Doctor.
And that's...
Doctors
I was going to mention...
12 to present have not caught my attention at all.
I was just going to say, is it worth bringing up the percentage conversation again?
TV was dramatically different in the 60s, and then
Yes.
again in the 70s, 80s, 90s. It's a show that's changed based on the era that it's in.
Mm-hmm.
That classic run probably will never be replicated by another television show ever again. But this new stretch is extremely hit or miss. The 9th Doctor, when it started, the first season, it's probably some of my favorite acting from Christopher Eccleston that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then David Tennant playing the Doctor is so iconic for
Yes.
a lot of good reasons. He played that role perfectly.
Yeah.
But then when he left and you had Matt Smith, I kind of wasn't digging it. And then, as much as I love Peter Capaldi, I didn't enjoy his stories at all. And this new Jodie Whittaker, female Doctor, she's an amazing actress, but the stories are really not good.
And that's a shame.
That is a shame, because people are going to mark that down to her being a woman.
Yeah.
But that's not it. She's an amazing actress. She plays the role very well. It's just everything around her is not good at all.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling to let this go. I've been so attached to Doctor Who for a little period in my life when I was like coming into teenage years.
Yeah.
So I have this attachment that I feel like, sure, I would enjoy Avatar, but the fact remains that I still haven't seen it.
And yeah,
I'm going to defer to the council for this one, I think.
I feel like I know which way she's going to go.
Failing that, we can just flip a coin, because
Fair enough.
at this point, some of these choices, I think, are going to require a coin flip. So
Maybe.
And that's not to say anything bad against either show. Like we've said, the fact that they've made it into this tournament says a lot more than other shows. It's just that picking between this random seed, it's so difficult for me. Because as much as I can recognize the weaknesses of Doctor Who, in that they are very weak, the strengths are so strong that it is... The coin flipped while I was talking. We're going to ignore that. The strengths of Doctor Who are so strong, and I know Avatar: The Last Airbender is really special for you, but I feel like there's a reason I have never seen it, you know? Like, if you're meant to watch these really amazing shows, surely by now I would have.
I don't subscribe to that. Sometimes just circumstances, you just haven't seen a thing yet.
I think I'm gonna have to flip a coin.
Did Ellie not have a decisive?
I want to get through this a bit quicker, and they're not responding. So, heads is Doctor Who, okay?
All right. That was a satisfying sound.
It's tails. Avatar advances.
Hey! I will say, I respect Doctor Who's legacy, and I know a lot of people love it to death. I'm happy with this decision, though.
Of course you are. Next seed. South Park.
Oh boy.
Versus regular show.
Ooh.
I hate South Park.
I don't love it, but I don't hate
I'm
it.
putting that out there. I know that there are going to be friends listening, Liam, Brandon, who really enjoy South Park. I don't. In fact, I don't even want to say that I don't like it. I want to say that I dislike it.
I don't think I dislike it. There's definitely, well, you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, the more I think those jokes that I used to find funny, I don't find funny anymore.
Such as?
I don't know. Like, just any of the Cartman lines that I used to find funny. Like, I'm realizing as I'm looking back on it, I don't know if I would still enjoy it as much watching it now.
Like how he always talks about Ike's mom being like a fat bitch.
Yeah, just it's almost, it feels almost like a cop-out thing to say, but it almost feels like just edgy humor.
That's 100% what it is. It prides itself on being that, and it revels in that. It masturbates in the little corner, being like, "It's so edgy. We joked about miscarriages."
Yeah, now I think there's like one episode I would probably still enjoy, which is the World of Warcraft episode.
Yeah,
but and now here's the other thing: I've never really seen regular show.
What? Really?
It was on Cartoon Network after I stopped watching Cartoon Network.
Mordecai and Rigby are basically us to a painful degree.
Really?
Yeah. 100%. Two slacker, like, I want to say they're groundskeepers? What are they? They work in a park. They work in a state park, like, as, you know, the people that rake the leaves and all of that shit. What are they called?
I would guess groundskeeper's probably the most accurate thing.
Yeah, groundskeepers at a local park and get into surreal misadventures whenever they attempt to slack off, which is all the time.
Right.
So the cast of characters there, the jokes, the vibes, the feel, it's like our friendship encapsulated into a cartoon show.
Now I'll say this. As much as I haven't seen regular show, I used to not really find the clips I saw funny, and then more recently I've seen clips where I'm like, oh, you know what, that joke got me. Or, oh, that was fine. Whereas I don't think I've been able to say that about South Park for a while. So on the thinnest of margins, I'm gonna lean regular show on this one.
Regular show advances. Next one. Oh boy, this is interesting.
Uh-huh.
Curb Your Enthusiasm
Okay.
versus Rilakuma and Kaoru.
I don't even know what that second one is.
Do you know who Rilakuma is?
I don't think so.
It's the brown bear. The brown Japanese bear.
Okay.
It's a very cute, very nice Netflix, I want to say it's stop motion, but I might be mistaken on that. Let me
Okay.
look this up. It's a very it's stop motion animated series where a lady lives in an apartment with these three characters, Rilakuma, Korilakuma, and Kirotori, who are a brown bear, a white bear, and a yellow chick.
Okay.
So it's like, have you ever seen a Wes Anderson movie?
Yeah.
Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs?
Yeah.
It looks like that.
Okay.
So it's about this Japanese group of cute animals and a 30-year-old woman who works in an office somewhere.
Now this is an
And-
interesting matchup because we're putting a show I haven't seen up against a show I don't particularly love.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is cringe humor at its finest.
And as I said earlier, not my jam.
My favorite, like, Larry David is hilarious. Like, he wrote Seinfeld, like, he's got this own show going. The fact that a lot of the interactions are improvised is what reminds it of us quite a lot. It would be like if we decided to just make a show with celebrities, but there were no scripts involved. We were just being funny, trying to make scenarios. But then there's the cringe element, which I can understand puts you off.
Right.
It depends on what you want out of a show. Do you want hilarious, like, cringe-inducing humor, or do you want, like, a cute little stop-motion animated series that's got 12-minute episodes, 13 episodes in one series?
And there are still some bits from Curb Your Enthusiasm that I've laughed at. And I love the memes just associated from the theme song.
It's iconic.
I don't know if Real Akuma is a show I would watch.
But you don't even know who Rilakuma is.
I mean, yeah, but just based on what I'm seeing as I'm Googling this and how you're describing it, this feels like a vibe show.
It's slice of life, comfort television.
Right. Whereas, like,
which is almost the complete opposite of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Very much so. And
which is uncomfortable television.
And I defended Agretzko earlier being a slice of life show, but I would also argue that Agretzko being slice of life, it's not a comfort show. It's very much a discomfort show, and not in the cringe sense, just that it's about the problems that come with living life. Whereas this is more about, like, hey, everything's great and cute.
Well, there's conflict in some of the episodes.
But is it? Let me ask this: what is the target demographic of Real Akuma?
Japanese people.
Is there an age bracket?
Nah, that's like saying, is there an age bracket on, like, Mickey Mouse, or, like, you know, it can be for anyone who just wants to look at a cute bear do cute things.
But see, that's the comparison. So that gives me the idea I was looking for. I don't think this is a show. I wouldn't complain if it was on, but I don't think I would put it on.
You say that. I feel like it would do you a favor to at least look at this show and the trailer, perhaps.
Maybe.
But for the sake of speed here, okay, I tried to sell you on it. Maybe you're not interested. We'll go with Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think we'll have to go with that.
I'm not mad. I enjoy both, but they're both different for very different reasons.
Extremely different.
Oh, and here we go. We got a couple of interesting brackets coming up now.
All right.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh boy.
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Okay, look. All right. I see where this conversation's going to go. I love Billy and
Okay,
Mandy.
Mr. JoJo's on TikTok. This character flushes the toilet. Oh, it's Jonathan.
First of
He
all.
would flush that toilet.
First of all.
I'm not mocking you. I'm so sorry. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that it's very obvious that you love JoJo with all of your heart, and so do I.
As do you.
As do I. I'm not saying that I don't. All I'm saying is that maybe there's a conversation we can have where Grim Adventures are... No, fuck it.
Look, I love
JoJo's,
Billy and
isn't
Mandy.
it?
I love Billy and Mandy.
I love Billy and Mandy too. It's so funny. You have... all the characters are funny, the scenarios are funny, it's dark humor for children.
It's dark, it's a little gross, but it's not overly so.
Remember that episode with the alien where he's going to eat your brains and he has the song, Brains, Brains, I want brains.
Oh yeah, that episode was basically just
give me
like
your brains.
a music video.
What?
That episode was basically just a music video.
For Voltaire?
Voltaire, yeah.
Is the singer? Yeah. So...
I remember episodes like the one, it was like a Pokemon parody where like Billy and Erwin had this like card game they played and they wanted Grimm to like make the monsters real, and it turned into this fucking dystopia real quick. The Harry Potter parody.
Lord Moldy Butt.
And every time you said his name, just something would break nearby.
What was the name of like the badass guy with the eye patch?
Oh God, what was his name?
Rex?
Fuck.
Something?
Hold on. That's gonna bug me if I don't figure it out. Billy and Mandy eye patch guy. Haas Delgado.
Haas Delgado. 33-year-old spectral exterminator, a hunter of paranormal creatures, one real hand, one mechanical hand that gives him any tool that he desires, including a metal fist or a chainsaw launching crossbow. He's Snake Plissken crossed with Ash from Evil Dead.
Yeah, essentially.
That's character alone carries a lot of weight with him.
Absolutely. He's equivalent to Jorgen von Strangle, like a great side character.
He's basically
Stroheim.
He's basically fucking Stroheim, except not German.
Yeah.
But it's got to be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It has to be,
because
I feel like we do both of ourselves a disservice if we didn't get it past at least the first round.
Oh, I mean, it's not even just like out of obligation. I genuinely think JoJo's is just a better show. As much as Billy and Mandy was great, another thing I was going to say about it is that like it definitely incorporated a lot of that absurdist humor that shaped my sense of humor as a kid, but not to the same extent that something like Ed, Edd n Eddy did.
Yeah.
It wasn't as influential to me. Whereas JoJo's...
Yeah, it wasn't as influential, but it was still enjoyable. But
yeah, whereas JoJo's...
Do I have several figurines and posters of Billy and Mandy in my room? No, I don't think so.
No.
So, moving on to the next bracket.
Yes.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh.
Versus Drake and Josh.
Our first two sitcoms. Well,
I thought we'd have more.
not first sitcoms, but first traditional sitcoms, like in front of a crowd sitcoms.
Yeah. That's tough.
It's very tough because these are actually very
Fresh Prince
similar
of Bel-Air
shows.
is more culturally significant as a whole, whereas Drake and Josh is more culturally significant to millennials.
To our age group, yeah.
Yeah, but the jokes from both of them, like the Carlton dance, transcends culture, but...
So does Drake Wears the Door Hole.
It's spherical!
That
spherical!
Also. This is really tough.
Megan. Remember that episode where, like, she basically psychologically tortured them by not fucking with them?
Yes!
Because they were expecting something and it just never came, and so they ended up making, like, a hole in the ceiling or something? Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
And he ran over Oprah.
Yep.
And other shit.
I saw more of Drake and Josh than I did of Fresh Prince. I watched and enjoyed both, but I saw more of Drake and Josh. And I don't know...
I think a question is, do you prefer, like, straight up comedy, or do you prefer comedy with real elements? Because Fresh Prince dabbled with gun violence, parental abandonment, eating disorders, I think, at one point.
Probably.
I feel like I might be misremembering that, but it's had serious topics where you think, oh my god, why am I crying? It's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
But it depends on what you put more value in, really, isn't it?
And that's what makes this really tough, because I remember more of the comedy from Drake and Josh, but Drake and Josh didn't have dealing with black identity.
This is a story all about how blah blah blah, so on and so forth, versus I found a way. What is a better theme song, is what I'm asking.
Listen. It's got
every episode had that preamble where they were like on split screens and
they were like
so
constantly
clever.
Contradicting each other.
Yes, the humor there was great.
It
but
was.
Then Jazzy Jeff get thrown out the house, and it's the same clip every time.
If we're gonna boil this down
when he shows up in those clothes, you know he's gonna get thrown out the house.
He just used the same clip each time.
Yeah.
If we're gonna boil this down,
Philip Banks. Philip Banks.
If we're gonna boil this down to best theme song, I go Fresh Prince hands down.
Yeah, but the jokes.
I think there are jokes in Fresh Prince that can go toe to toe easily with Drake and Josh.
Coin flip.
Well, I don't know if that's necessary.
Okay, convince me.
I think the jokes can go toe to toe with each other, and then when you include the well done drama of Fresh Prince, I think that comes out the superior show.
It really pains me to say, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
So
Fresh Prince advances.
There
As
you
much
go.
as we love Drake and Josh.
Oh, yeah. I'll always remember when they debuted. I remember when they were part of the Amanda show and she announced that they were getting their own show. Like,
see, I don't even remember that.
oh, I remember that. Yeah, it was fantastic. I'll always love Drake and Josh, but I don't think you can beat Fresh Prince with another child sitcom.
Nah, I think that one is like the king of sitcoms at this
Yeah.
point. Moving on. Friends
Oh, boy.
versus Smallville.
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to start on this side of the bracket because I think it's public knowledge at this point, my distaste for the character of Superman. Also, I never saw Smallville, so I don't really have any reason right now to vote for Smallville. Also, I love Friends, and I know you don't as much.
Okay, my relationship with Friends is a difficult one because when I was young, I had all of the seasons on DVD, and I loved to binge watch it as much as any other basic white girl, right? But when I got older, I realized some of this just isn't funny anymore.
Whereas my
Towards
experience,
the end of its run, it got almost painfully unfunny compared to earlier seasons. And the storylines got a bit weird and
I'll extend
almost like
this
it
olive
lost
branch.
itself.
I'll extend this olive branch. Joey and Rachel sucks.
Shark porn.
You always point to that joke where I don't think that's the worst one, but fair enough.
What do you think is the worst one?
I don't even know. I don't even know if I could point to a worst joke, but
Because as much as this show went from being entrenched in the middle of the 90s to then going into the middle of the 2000s.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be bold and I'm going to say at this point in time, the 2000s doesn't really have an identity yet.
no.
We're a bit too close to it to really associate it with an identity of style or anything, or jokes or TV shows even. So it's in a really difficult place. But to think about some of the earlier episodes that are so entrenched in like American, like New York fucking culture, I am going to be bold and I'm going to say that Friends is the reason why my voice is the way it is.
What do you mean?
Well, you know how Kim Namjoon of BTS, the Korean pop band, he learned a lot of his English primarily through watching Friends.
Mm.
I watched Friends when I was forming speech.
Ah.
So I mimicked the fucking state-of-the-art American New York accents that I would hear on this show. And that is why, whenever I speak next to a British person, I sound like an American. But whenever I speak next to an American, I sound like a British person. My voice is permanently fucked up, and it's caused me a lot of pain in my life, because I decided to watch this sitcom about 6 friends living in Manhattan when I was like 3.
And that's actually interesting, because I was just going to mention, when people think about Friends, they probably think about the 6 main characters, which is completely normal. That's what the show's about, is those 6 characters. But then you're also, I feel like you're doing it a disservice to not mention some of the incredible side characters that have been in the show. Like,
You say incredible side characters. Do you only mean their spouses? Their various relationships?
not necessarily, because
Other than that, I can only think of Gunther.
well, there's Gunther. There's also Phoebe's little brother, Frank Jr.
Yeah.
And of course, there are relationship characters like, I forget what Happy's character's name was in Friends, but him.
He wanted to become the Ultimate Fighter.
That's an amazing episode.
He fought Tank Abbott and got put in a body cast.
Yeah. Paul Rudd's character, who actually makes it to the end of the show.
He made that last back end of the show a lot more tolerable, because he's
Absolutely.
Paul Rudd and he can do no wrong.
Michael Rappaport played one of Phoebe's boyfriends for an episode.
He shot a bird.
There was the Robin Williams cameo.
He shot Aaron in the face.
Yes. A lot of fun side characters that don't need to
Janice.
stay. Yes. And again, I have to point to the fact that I really have no reason to give a shit about Smallville.
Smallville is Superman done right. It's the origin story of Clark Kent working in small town Smallville, Monster of the Week formula, very interesting characters. Lex Luthor is in it. He is saved by Superman at one point, very early on, from drowning in his car. And so that shapes that relationship quite early. You've got... what was her name? It's been a while. I used to be really into Smallville when I was a teenager, but lately I've not been into it as much. So this is primarily based off my memory. I want to say Lana Lang. That's it. His high school love interest. And then obviously talking about Lex Luthor, he's there. It's the prequel. I think it's done incredibly well compared to other shows with Superman in.
Let me just ask you this.
It gave him a more human element because it was his origin story.
I'm not even familiar with it, to be fair. Let me just ask you this. Are you going to advocate for Smallville over Friends?
I feel like I'm delusional if I do. I feel like that's just me.
Because due to my biases, there's not really anything you're going to be able to tell me that's going to get me to change from Friends to Smallville.
Friends advances to the next round.
There you go.
Alrighty. So
I think this will be our last one for this episode.
We are now halfway through.
That's a perfect point.
Bracket number 16. Parks and Recreation versus WWE.
Oh, it's not even close.
Parks and Recreation.
Absolutely. Look,
no, hang on. No.
We can discuss this a little bit more in detail. I think there's a lot to be said about the longevity and iconic moments that have come from WWE programming. However, I'm going to bring up the percentage conversation again. And the fact that even some of the moments that wrestling fans out there will remember with a twinkle in their eyes, not enough to beat the incredible comedy that is Parks and Recreation, along with great drama. Again, we're going to bring that balance thing into consideration again. Parks and Recreation just hits it all. The only knock I will put against Parks and Recreation, in the interest of fairness, is that the first season, not awesome.
When you think of WWE, We're gonna focus on Monday Night Raw, okay? For the sake of argument, we can't include all the pay-per-views, SmackDown, any other shows. This is just Monday Night Raw, okay?
Sure.
Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Yeah.
The Rock, John Cena, like these are characters that changed pop culture.
Yeah.
In both the 90s and the aughts, present day. These are the Undertaker, Kane, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chris Jericho. Like, this isn't just me being a wrestling fan. This is me just being, like, looking at it objectively through the lens of versus Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation is a very funny television show that has some great characters, like Andy and Ben
My personal
and
favorite. Ron Swanson is iconic.
Ron Swanson is iconic. Who the fuck is what's his name? What's his fucking name? The dude. The guy.
Uh-huh.
The man.
Yeah.
Who is help me, who's the man?
I don't know who you're talking about. There's many men.
List for men.
There's many men wish death upon me.
List the men.
There's
in Parks and Recreation.
Rob Lowe's character.
Rob Lowe! Rob Lowe's character. Chris
Traeger.
Chris Traeger, yes. That's who I was...
Okay.
Tell me the man.
Who's the man that does the thing?
The man who goes, and Perkins.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
We can't just sweep away all of the iconic Monday Night Raw moments just because of how it is now.
I think and this might be me being a contrarian a little bit, but I think you're overblowing the iconicness of some of these scenes, because if you were to just ask a person on the street, do you remember that time where Vince pulled off his hood and said, "It's me, Austin"? How many people would it take before one of them said, "Yes, I remember that"?
Do you remember that time when Stone Cold Steve Austin drove a beer truck to the ring and doused everybody in beer before WrestleMania?
One of the most iconic moments in Raw history. How many people would it take for one person to actually know what you're talking about?
But you can't say the same for Parks and Rec.
Right.
So what's your point?
Wait, what do you mean you can't say the same for Parks and Rec?
My point is that if you were to ask anybody, like, anything about Parks and Rec, like, you're probably gonna enter someone who's like, "Oh yeah, I know Stone Cold," before anyone else is like, "Oh yeah, I know Ann Perkins."
Well, I think there's a difference between knowing the person who is Stone Cold versus knowing the show. Because
yeah, but remember that time when he went into the hospital and hit Vince with the bedpan?
But again, you know that scene because you're a wrestling fan.
He filled his limousine with cement concrete?
I don't know how many non-wrestling fans actually know that.
Remember when The Rock said, "Know your role and shut your mouth"?
People know who The Rock is. People know who Stone Cold is.
They know where he came. They know where these characters came from. This one TV show.
But did they ever watch it?
Probably when it was on.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe they didn't watch Parks and Rec either.
It's possible. But what I'm saying is...
I don't know what the argument is.
What I'm saying is, I don't think you can hold just name recognition of Stone Cold and The Rock as a plus to the entirety of the run of Monday Night Raw. Because then you're leaving out a lot of other stuff. That's like saying, well, season 3 of Simpsons was fantastic, so it can't lose to anything.
No, I'm not saying that it can't lose to anything. I'm just saying that I don't think Parks and Recreation can beat this.
I disagree.
I really don't think that it can, because even, like, modern era with John Cena, like, the internet is gonna internet, and it's gonna take these characters and make them into memes, yes, but...
John Cena
fully fledged Hollywood persona now. Same for Batista. Same for Rock and Stone Cold, and... You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the company that made these... It's like their appearances on the shows and what they did on Monday Night Raw. It's way more paramount than anything that's ever happened on Parks and Rec.
But here's the thing. John Cena is a meme. But how many people spreading that meme around actually know anything he's done. Whereas
he says you can't see me, and he does the knuckle shuffle.
But I mean actual things that he's like individual moments he's had. Whereas people who meme about Parks and Rec 9 times out of 10 have at least seen an episode and enjoyed it.
I can't bring myself to put Parks and Rec over Monday Night Raw.
I feel like it's a legacy issue.
100% it's a legacy issue.
Whereas this should be more boiling down to quality of content.
I still think that the quality of the wrestling content outweighs the quality of the Parks and Rec content.
We've had conversations about something like this before, where we don't particularly love the characterization and story elements of modern wrestling, whereas the in-ring action has obviously improved. And then you look at past eras, and the characterization and plot were great, but the in-ring action, we've watched it, it's not great. There's always something lacking.
But do you watch it for the in-ring action, or do you watch it for the entertainment? Because you can get entertainment out of both characters and in-ring action. I feel like they're both two sides of the same coin.
But my point is more that there's always something lacking. It's never just really, really strong consistently.
It's hard to be when you have this, like, running time since the 1970s?
Sure.
80s?
But when we're comparing it to its opponent, it's consistent.
Is this going to happen
strong.
every time we get, like, a long-running TV show versus, like, a really condensed season as to whether that one condensed season outweighs the merits of a long-running season? Are we going to get this a lot?
I mean, we've gotten it, like, what, 3 or 4 times already?
And yet we can never come to a sound decision based on this argument.
It's for me, it's a matter of quality of content, and with that, I have to go Parks and Rec.
I don't think I can budge.
Then we have to go to a coin flip.
The integrity of a bracket, ladies and gentlemen, it comes down to another coin flip. We're not even halfway through, and we've already done like 2 of these.
Right.
So, I decided it last time, you decided this time. What is heads?
Heads will be Parks and Rec.
It's tails.
Okay, I have to,
I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I feel like my allegiances lie towards more Monday Night Raw than they do to Parks and Rec.
See, I think actually what's a big part of this decision for me was the fact that because I feel like I got burned so hard by wrestling, I don't want to credit it.
I don't blame you for this. Like, wrestling has done some really bad things for us, but you have to remember the good it's also done.
Yeah, sure. But how much of that... it doesn't matter. The decision's been made.
This conversation is entirely irrelevant to those who don't even enjoy wrestling anyway.
Exactly,
so
and that's sort of the point I was trying to make, but again...
Leave the coin flip, bruh. You can't go against it.
Nope. So, Monday Night Raw moves on.
It has been 2 hours, and we are halfway through the bracket. The first round.
Oh god, we're only halfway through the first round. This is going to be a multi-episode tournament. We were of the delusion at first that we could get this done in 1 episode. So
this is the tournament arc, and it's our first arc. Way to really put it out there strong first and foremost, huh?
Yeah, really. We had our introduction and then start right off.
But I feel like the way that we're talking about these shows and the way we talk about them has sort of like showcased more of our relationship and our personalities.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Win-win-win.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah.
Plus, this isn't actually for any prize or anything. This is just like what happens when we reach the end of this? What happens to the show that wins? We don't even know.
Yeah.
We just decided to do
It's
this.
just a complete theoretical what's better.
We probably should have organized these by brackets so that we don't have the conversation of whether a wrestling show is better than a comedy show.
But you know what? I feel like this big, broad version of it elicits a lot of interesting discussion. So I'm actually not...
It does.
I'm not against this at all. But yeah, that'll do it for part 1 of our big TV tournament.
This is probably going to be like 3 parts, honestly.
Probably. I imagine that one took 2 hours and we have a whole other half of this first round to go through. So I imagine...
So the other half will take 2 hours and then... it'll take another 2 hours to
Yeah.
do the rest.
So we'll,
Welcome to part 1, everybody. If you have any thoughts about the decisions or the shows that we may have included or may not have included, bearing in mind the full bracket is not available yet, or are we going to actually put the full thing out?
let's just put out the bit that we covered.
Fair enough. I think that's fair.
So yeah, if you have comments about our decisions, there are several ways you can contact us. First is through our email, bitterchatterpodcast@gmail.com, fully spelled out, no letters or no numbers, I mean. Once again, bitterchatterpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter and an Instagram. Both are the same handle, and that is @bitterchatpod. So full word bitter, and then just CHATPOD. That is Twitter and Instagram. We are becoming more available on more platforms. As of right now, let me just run through all of our platforms that we're on. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. So if you have friends that use any of these different platforms and they want to listen to this on the go, you can find them there. We will be available on more over time, and we are also on YouTube. The channel is simply called Bitter Chatter.
Are we on the new Lappy 486?
Wait, what?
The new Lappy 486 has a battery life of 2 hours.
I have been Carmine Antonelli. You can find me on every social media @thatguy_Carmine.
And I'm Sam Brooks. You can find me on Twitter @Strayborn, Instagram Starbines, TikTok Starbines, and who's to say if I won't change it or not by next week?
There you go. So you might as well stay tuned and keep updated on everything that he changes. So that has been it, and we will see you all in the next episode.
I can't believe we're only halfway through the first round.
This is going to take a long time.
It sound right, boy.